Hey everybody, Zach again, NewToTorah.com, coming in, making a video for you today, and I saw a news article. I wanted to get to it, and before I do that, we are going to be doing the Declaring the End from the Beginning conference coming up in February, I believe, and it's going to be in Northwest Arkansas, and I believe the website is Isaiah4610.com. I'll leave information in the description below so you can check that out. But I know you want to get signed up for it if you have a chance of coming. Go ahead and do that soon. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait. So, and that's one of three that I have scheduled this year. I only do 3 conferences a year. I've actually been asked to do one more, and I turned it down because I'm pretty strict on that whole, I do 3 a year because my responsibility is here for the homestead and for the family. So go ahead and check that out. Isaiah4610.com. Link in the description below if you're interested in checking out that conference. Going to be some excellent speakers there, and we're going to have a great time. So anyway, today I'm looking at Drudge, checking out the news, and this article says, Witchcraft moves to the mainstream in America as Christianity declines and has Trump in its sights. Well, the reality is all these articles always try to throw Trump in there because they know that gets ratings, gets people to click on it. So that's why they throw Trump in there. But it does actually kind of involve the president. The article, I won't read the whole thing, but I'll start off with this. It says, witchcraft is thriving in the U.S. with an estimated 1.5 million Americans now identifying as witches. That's more than the total number of Presbyterians. As Christianity declines across the country, paganism has swung to the mainstream, with witchcraft paraphernalia for sale on every high street and practices normalized across popular culture. In the past 2 years, it has also become darkly politicized. So, and it goes on to talk about this witch. It's transgender, so who knows if it's a girl or a guy. But talk about a witch who owns a bookstore and how he is casting spells on the president and Kavanaugh and anyone else who is normal, basically. So anyway, or halfway normal. Anyway, so this is the article. The whole thing, the whole idea of Christianity becoming smaller and witchcraft going mainstream, meaning, that like this article says, an estimated 1.5 million self-identified witches in America. Self-identified witches, you're a witch and you're part of that 1.5 million. It's just people, here's what I want to point out in this video. People will ask, Zach, how did we get here? Oh my goodness, there's 1.5 million witches? More than one of the largest denominations of Christianity in our country? How did we get here? And I think I can safely tell you that it's all our faults. It's all of our faults because we have been slowly mass conditioned to get to this point. And I'm going to prove it to you here in just a second. How does this mass conditioning happen? I put articles on my website, blog posts on my New Tutorial website in the past on this topic. How did we get here? Well, it's fairly simple. Let's just take a look back. 1960s, what was one of the most popular TV shows out there? It was called Bewitched, right? Bewitched. And then you had, to a lesser extent, I Dream of Jeannie. I don't know which one was more popular. Jeannie, not so much a wish, I get, but it's magic. I mean, it's the same thing, magic. But you had a show called Bewitched. And you had a show called I Dream of Jeannie. And, these things, enter the fray as more of a comedic, soft-hearted, funny, entrance, and that gets people to buy off on it, and to turn a blind eye to the overarching idea behind all of it. And that's witchcraft. It's witchcraft. There's no other way of looking at it. And so, we become numb to what it is. Okay, we become conditioned, desensitized to what it is. The other example is Dracula. Okay, Dracula. We have Dracula cereal that comes out like the 1970s, and it's a cereal. And, he's a cartoon, and so cartoons, everyone likes cartoons. This was before, Simpsons and, really rude and crass cartoons were out. No, these were cute cartoons, and it's a cute little cartoon of a vampire. What do vampires do? Drink blood. What does the Bible say about drinking blood? You shall not do it. Okay, drinking of blood and all these things, all related to witchcraft. But you have this cute little cartoon, and, he's cute. It's a cereal. It's a kid's cereal. It's sugar. What's wrong with that? I know he's a vampire, but I mean, it's just a cartoon. It's not real, Zach. Again, the mass conditioning and the desensitization of America. Then you have the Sesame Street, the Count. Again, another vampire. But Zach, he helps children learn to count their numbers. Oh, he's so cute. He 1, two, it's all a mass conditioning, and our kids are sucking that in. And what are they learning? Oh, the Count, he's cool. He helps me count numbers. It's great for kids, But he's a vampire. What do? They drink blood. It's related to witchcraft. What does the Bible say about witchcraft? I mean, lots. There's over a half dozen verses in the Torah alone, not to mention the rest of Scripture, okay? But let's just look at some of the verses in Torah. Leviticus 20:27. A man also or woman that has a familiar spirit or that is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. We were going over the Torah portion in this last cycle and just last week, and I thought for sure that witches were to be burned. And, I thought I had read that somewhere. And I couldn't find. So I looked, and we found the verses. No, it says to be stoned. But they're to be stoned. I thought they were supposed to be set on fire if they were caught to be a witch, but no, they were supposed to be stoned. I guess I got that confused with something else. But they're to be stoned for being a witch, a wizard, familiar spirits. A witch is to be stoned. In Torah, like Exodus 22:18, you shall not suffer a witch to live. You shall not suffer a witch to live. I mean, these are things that we're supposed to put out of our midst. Obviously you can't stone a witch today. But at the same time, I mean, should we allow these things to be prevalent in our culture and especially set our children down in front of TVs where they just make them seem like everyday things that's no problem, there's no issue with them at all? Is that what we're to do? Folks, that's how we got here. So when they ask the question, oh my goodness, how did we get here? 1.5 million witches in America? And all this witch paraphernalia and spells and all this stuff, enchanters and diviners of times and all this stuff, we're surrounded by it. How do we get here? We're all to blame because we just blew this stuff off as harmless. It's no big deal. It's just a television. It's a comedy show, Zach. It's just a serial, Zach. It's just Sesame Street. What's wrong with it? It's PBS, public broadcasting. Can't be bad. Government funded, by the way. So how did we get here? We got us here. We all did. Because we failed to recognize what sin is. Sin is transgression of the law. The same law that God says is perfect. The same law that God says is truth. The same law that God says is good. We ignored it. And today, evil is increasing. And what is the good news of this is that righteousness is increasing. We did that video earlier in the year when Answers in Genesis published that article that actually mentioned New to Torah in it. And it said at the beginning of the article, the writer Answers in Genesis said that this Hebrew roots movement is growing by the hundreds of thousands. The reason that is because people are once again identifying what sin is and turning from it. Now there's a whole other group of people who are running towards unrighteousness and running toward wickedness and running towards sin and embracing it. That's happening. That's one of the reasons it's the last days. But see, there's this whole other remnant out there that's rising up and saying, I'm not raising my kids this way. I'm getting these things out of my life because I know they're sin. Why? It's like the whole Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe and Lord of the Rings, supposedly Christian authors who wrote these things. But they portray wizardry and witchcraft in a good light. Oh, it's the good white witch. The white wizard, whatever that guy's name was, I forgot, in Lord of the Rings. But, it's a good guy, Zach. He's there for the side of good. No, the Torah says witchcraft is bad. It doesn't say anything about good witches or bad witches. It says they're to be stoned with stones. I mean, we have been so blinded. And then you have that progression, and where does it lead to? You have books like Twilight and Harry Potter that come out. And we wonder, when we've had all of our kids read those books, And sure, yeah, you can read Harry Potter. Sure, you can read, Twilight and all these other things. Sure, you can watch Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe because there's good witches. We wonder why this nation as a whole is turning to witchcraft. 1.5 million Americans identify themselves as witches. Guys, we're all to blame. Every single one of us. It's one of the reasons I don't like Star Wars. People give me a hard time with that. Zach, you're being too drastic now. You're being too legalistic. What is it? It's witchcraft. I can pick things up and move them with my hand or my thoughts. It's witchcraft. It's the same thing. If, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Hey, Jedi, you're a witch. That's what you are. Okay, anyway, but that's where we're at today. So the good news is that righteousness is increasing while wickedness is increasing. What does that mean? Where is that going to lead to? Eventually, this is going to come to a head. As righteousness gains and wickedness gains, this is going to reach a head. That's when your hope Messiah shows up, because if he doesn't, we're going to be in trouble. All right, we'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Thanks.